it's something you don't see every day. Most people would overlook a Pajero in favour of a bigger four-wheel drive. I think it's probably the best bang for buck four-wheel drive you could get. Hi, I'm Lockie and this is my 3.2 converted NL Pajero. The whole reason I bought a four-wheel drive is so I can carry my camping gear and have it organised. But there's also the capability there of going the extra distance and going on the beach and things like that. So that's where owning a normal car just wouldn't cut it for me. From a young age, I've always loved being outside, building bike jumps, things like that. It was always, we'll get out there and we'll cook on a fire, and it was just little overnight trips and a few day trips here and there. And that was something that sort of stemmed from something that I've had going on my whole life. I was born with quite a serious heart condition. So always I've had friends, looking out for me, on the mountain bike tracks and making sure that I'm taking it easy and not overexerting myself. So that's sort of where camping and four-wheel driving was something that would still get me out and about in the bush, but it was in a controlled environment. I mean, it's just one of those things that you learn to live with. And although you have things that you're going to face in the future, you might as well make it the most of what you're doing and what you love. So that was four-wheel driving and camping for me. For my first car, I got a 94 Pajero. It was a 2.8 litre. It was showroom condition. It was absolutely immaculate. And I learned a lot from it. I learned how to wire up 12-volt lights and how to service it myself and fix things. And I also learned how to check the depth of puddles, which was a big one, only a week after I bought it. After that, I was getting a few Ks on it. It's time to move it on. So I got a V6 one, and that was awesome. I love the power of the V6. And I fully intended to keep that car until I saw this one for sale. That's when I knew I had to sell my V6 and move on. It's a 1998 Mitsubishi Pajero. So it was a 3.5 litre V6, but obviously that's been taken out. It now runs a Triton 3.2 litre 4M41. Behind it is a 3-speed with overdrive gearbox. The car runs the Triton instrument cluster. It also runs the Triton selector and transfer case lever all in the cab, which has been neatly tied into the factory Pajero dash. I've also got the Triton trip readout for the trip computer, which has replaced the factory Pajero triple pillar pod. I've also got a Sony head unit with Apple CarPlay and a reverse camera, and also a 3-pod for gauges, dual volt, EGT boost, auto temp and oil pressure. So just keeps an eye on all those things. And I've also got a HEMA HX1 on top. So I went and bought the car and I drove it home. It was great. It was running a chip, it was making good power, it felt really good on the drive home. And it wasn't until New Year that I wanted to take it away that the thing died on me, just black smoke everywhere. So I opted to put it into the shop and I got the chip removed. So we put it back on the factory ECU, got a dyno tuned, and made a healthy 850 Newton meters of torque. So it definitely goes really well now. Moving back through the engine bay, it's got a front mount intercooler with all custom intercooler piping. I get really low EGTs. I haven't seen any more than 430 or something, so really low. I've just put in an oil catch can and some diff breathers, so it's running really well now, like clockwork. So the car's running an ARB winch compatible bar, which has been freshly resprayed. It houses 2 Steady Type X Pros, and I've got 2 antennas, one for my UHF and the other one for my AM FM, because the factory ones snap off very easily. This model Gen 2 came out all with two-tone. So now it's painted in a Mazda colour. It's called Meteor Grey, and if you get the right angle, it's got a real sparkle to it. It sets it off really well with the black wheels and the black sort of bar work and stuff like that. So it's got manual locking hubs in the front, which is a really big thing for Pajeros, just to stop those front CVs moving and wearing out. And all around I've got 2 6575 tyres, just on a dynamic D-hole rim, which is quite simple, but it just sets it off nicely. So it's just got a 2-inch suspension lift. It's running 300 kilo constant springs in the rear. Tough Dog shocks all around, which I'm probably going to look at swapping out for something a bit different later on. They're just a bit firm. It's got a ARB front locker. It's got 2 fuel tanks. So it's got the factory 90 litre, and it's also got a 45 litre sub tank. Yeah, so the car now has a capacity of 135 litres, which gives me around 1400 k's in total. But no, it goes really well. I get about 10 to 11 litres per 100 on a trip. So in my old Pajero I had some ARB drawers. When I went to sell the car, I figured I wanted to keep them because I'd probably never get a set like them again. So I removed them and my freshly installed ARB compressor, and I reinstalled them in the back of the car on top of some soundproofing. And now the air compressor runs into a tank, which also runs the locker. On top, I've got a 40 litre Waco on a Waco slide, and I've got a 120 amp hour full river battery that runs my fridge, camp lights and the compressor. And that is run by a Redarc BCDC 25 amp charger. And I've also got solar input, so I carry a solar blanket with me when I head out. I had a rooftop tent on a steel rack on my old NL, and it had heavy duty springs and stuff, but I just found it was too top heavy, and off-road it was just scary to drive. So I opted for the Rhino rack just because it's lightweight and durable, and it's not going to rust. On the back door, I've built a table out of food grade stainless, so I can just put a hot camp oven straight on it. Not have to worry about heat absorption or anything like that. 3 things I love about the car: obviously the power. It's really easy to drive as well. Being the automatic off-road, it's really good. So I'd have to say probably the motor and gearbox setup. The second thing would probably have to be the drawers and the fridge. Just having a fridge in there has changed the way I camp, like not having to buy ice. I can pack it the night before a trip. The third thing would probably have to be my custom table, just because like having to carry a table is one of those things that's often, it's a bigger, bulkier item, and having that table there, I don't always have to take another table or just, I've always got a work surface there. If you're in the market for a four-wheel drive and you want to get started, they're quite simple to work on, quite reliable, they don't flex too badly, and they're actually quite comfortable. So it definitely is a good starter four-wheel drive.